I need to tell someone what happened. I haven't slept in 3 days. My hands won't stop shaking. Even now, sitting in this warm room with you, I can feel it watching. Listening. I've hunted the Blackwood Forest since I was 12. My grandfather taught me every trail, every ridge, every hollow where the mist collects at dawn. For 20 years, these woods have been more home to me than my cabin on Raven's Peak. Never once did I feel anything but peace among those ancient pines. Until last Thursday. The memory of it burns like acid in my mind. Every detail crystallized by terror. It was that strange twilight hour when the world holds its breath between day and night. The temperature had dropped suddenly, unusual for October in Millridge County, and the forest had gone eerily quiet. Not the comfortable silence of evening, but something wrong. Like the woods themselves were cowering. The cold had teeth. It bit through my thermal layers, chilled the sweat on my neck, made my fingertips ache against the polished grip of my crossbow. My breath hung before me in ghostly plumes that dissipated too slowly, as if the air itself had thickened. I'd been perched in my tree stand for hours, waiting for a particular buck I'd tracked for weeks. Massive creature with a battle-scarred face and a rack of antlers that reminded me of twisted black lightning. My trail cam had captured it 3 nights prior, its eyes catching the infrared light in that eerie, knowing way. When movement finally broke the stillness below, I leaned forward, pulse quickening. The buck emerged from between 2 frost-dusted pines, and immediately my throat constricted. Something wasn't right. It staggered. Not like a wounded animal, but like something wearing a costume it hadn't quite mastered. Its joints bent at impossible angles. Each step was deliberate, mechanical, as if it were counting the movements required to mimic walking. 1, 2, 3, 4. My stomach nodded as it paused, head swiveling on its too thin neck. The motion was fluid, unnaturally smooth, like a camera panning. Then it looked up. Not toward the tree. Directly at me. Those eyes. Jesus Christ, those eyes. They weren't the glassy brown orbs of a deer. They were cavities. Bottomless pits that seemed to pulse inward, drawing light and warmth from the air around them. No reflection. No life. Just endless, hungry darkness. My crossbow suddenly felt useless, a child's toy against whatever stood beneath me. Every instinct screamed to climb down quietly and walk away. To run. But I didn't. God help me, I took the shot. The bolt struck just behind the front shoulder where the heart should be. The sound it made, not the solid thunk of impact, but a wet, sucking noise, like a boot being pulled from deep mud. The creature didn't flinch or startle. It didn't even blink those awful eyes. It simply deflated. Folded. Collapsed in on itself with a sound like wet leather stretching, joints bending in directions no living thing should bend. I counted my heartbeats. 1 minute. 5. 10. Nothing moved. The corpse lay still, a dark smudge against the frosted forest floor. I should have left. Every ancestral warning encoded in my DNA begged me to flee. But curiosity, that damned, fatal human flaw, pulled me down from my perch. My boots crunched through the brittle undergrowth, each step amplified in the unnatural silence. No birds. No distant rustle of nocturnal creatures. The forest was holding its breath. Standing over the fallen creature, my perception struggled to make sense of what lay before me. At first glance, it resembled a deer. The general shape was there, the suggestion of antlers, the approximate mass of a mature buck. But the details, the proportions were grotesquely wrong. Its legs stretched too long, joints bulging like tumors. The neck extended like a snake, thin and ropey, mottled with patches of missing fur that revealed not skin but something slick and marble-eye, pockmarked with tiny, pulsing holes. And the antlers weren't antlers at all. They were bones. Human bones. Fingers, ribs, vertebrae, fused and twisted into branch-like formations that spiraled both outward and inward, puncturing the creature's own skull in places, emerging again through its jaw, its neck, its shoulders. But worst of all were its feet. They weren't hooves. They were hands. Human hands, grotesquely elongated, with too many joints and fingers that had been broken and reset to curve underneath like malformed claws. The flesh between the digits was webbed with translucent membrane that glistened wetly despite the cold. As I stared, frozen in horror, one of the fingers twitched. I ran. Blind panic propelled me through the darkening forest, branches whipping across my face, opening stinging cuts I didn't feel. 3 miles to my truck, and I didn't stop once. Didn't look back. Couldn't bear to know if it was following. I fumbled with my keys, hands shaking so violently I dropped them twice before managing to unlock the door. Inside, I slammed the lock down and sat trembling, chest heaving, the metallic tang of fear coating my tongue. The drive home was a blur. My headlights carved tunnels through the darkness, shadows constantly shifting at the edges of my vision. Twice I nearly drove off the road, convinced I'd seen something dart across the pavement, something that moved with that same wrongness, that mechanical pantomime of living movement. When my cabin finally came into view, perched on the edge of Raven's Peak overlooking the valley, relief crashed through me. Until I saw every light was on. Every single one. I live alone, Marcus. You know that. No one should have been there. I'm fanatic about turning off lights, comes with living off-grid most of the year, relying on generators and solar. The electricity bill alone would. Sorry. I'm stalling because what comes next? I parked and sat staring at my illuminated cabin, debating whether to drive straight to Sheriff Donovan's place in town. But what would I say? I shot something that looked like a deer but wasn't, and now my lights are on? He already thinks I'm unhinged after that incident with the Carter brothers last hunting season. So I went inside. The deadbolt slid open with its familiar metallic scrape. The door swung inward on well-oiled hinges. Everything looked normal. Exactly as I've left it that morning. Coffee mug on the counter. Book splayed open on the arm of my reading chair. Wood stove cold and clean. But the air felt wrong. Charged. Like the moment before lightning strikes. And there was a smell. Faint but unmistakable. Like pond water and mushrooms and something else, something metallic and organic. The scent of old pennies and raw meat. I moved through the cabin methodically, checking each room, each closet, under the bed, behind the shower curtain. Nothing. No signs of forced entry. No muddy footprints. No disturbance at all. One by one, I switched off the lights, telling myself I'd forgotten, that stress had affected my memory. The darkness felt safer anyway, less exposed. I stoked the wood stove, loaded my rifle, and settled into my reading chair, back to the wall, eyes fixed on the door. I must have fallen asleep. The fire had died to embers when a sound jolted me awake. Knock. Just once. Soft but distinct. Not on the door. On the window. My eyes strained against the darkness. The temperature had plummeted, frost patterns bloomed across the glass from the inside, delicate fractal ferns that shouldn't have been possible with the stove still burning. Knock. Knock. Lower this time. At the baseboard beneath the window. I fumbled for my flashlight, clicked it on. The beam scattered across the frosted glass, revealing nothing. Knock. 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 Behind me now. Under the floorboards. I spun, sweeping the light across the wooden planks. For a heartbeat, I thought I saw one of them flex upward, as if something had pressed against it from below. But that was impossible. The cabin sits on a concrete foundation. There is no below. Is there? Knock. 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 The sound circled. Under the kitchen sink. Behind the bathroom wall. Beneath the loft ladder. Like something was mapping the perimeter, testing for weakness. Then silence fell. So complete I could hear the blood rushing in my ears, the subtle creak of my own joints as I shifted position. That's when I heard it. My voice, coming from under the floor. Not just any words. My childhood prayer. The one my mother taught me, that I haven't spoken aloud in 20 years. Now I lay me down to sleep, I pray the Lord my soul to keep. The words emerged between the floorboards like wispy smoke, a perfect mimicry of my inflection, my cadence, even that slight southern drawl I picked up from my grandfather. I must have passed out. Stress. Fear. Exhaustion. My mind simply couldn't process what was happening. Dawn's gray fingers were pushing through the frosted windows when I opened my eyes. For one blessed moment, I thought it had been a nightmare. Then I saw the markings on the glass. Not scratches. Not frost patterns. Words. Written from the inside, in a perfect replica of my own handwriting. I remembered the lights this time. Below the message was a handprint pressed into the condensation on the window. Not human. Too wide. Too many fingers, 8 or 9, I couldn't bring myself to count. Each digit impossibly long and jointed in at least 5 places. The imprint glistened with an oily residue that caught the dawn light and refracted it into sickly rainbow patterns. I approached slowly, my body moving against the screaming protests of my mind. Raised my own hand. Placed it beside the print. It was still wet. And warm. Something clattered in the kitchen. I froze, straining to hear over the thunder of my pulse. Soft, wet footsteps. The sticky sound of something damp peeling away from the floor with each step. Then silence. I raised my rifle, edged around the corner, and saw nothing. The kitchen was empty. Counters clear. Floor dry. Except a trail of moisture led from the sink to the cellar door. Small, glistening droplets that smelled of pond water and metal. The cellar door was open. Just a crack. Just enough to reveal the darkness beyond. I don't have a cellar, Marcus. My cabin was built on solid rock. Excavation would have cost a fortune. There's no lower level, no basement, no cellar. Just concrete and stone beneath these wooden floors. Yet there it stood. A door I'd never seen before, set into the kitchen wall where my pantry should have been. Old wood, dark with age and moisture, brass hinges green with verdigris. And beyond it, stairs descending into absolute darkness. Something slammed into the front door. Boom. The whole cabin shuddered. Dust sifted down from the ceiling beams. Picture frames tilted. Boom. The door buckled inward, wood splintering around the deadbolt. Whatever was out there wasn't knocking, it was throwing its entire mass against the barrier. I scrambled to barricade the door, dragging furniture, tipping the bookcase, wedging chairs under the handle. All the while, my eyes kept darting back to that cellar door in the kitchen. Still open. Still dark. Still impossible. Boom. The front door gave another inch. A crack appeared down its center, and through it, I glimpsed movement. Something thin and pale and multi-jointed, probing the opening like a centipede made of broken fingers. I backed away toward the kitchen, rifle raised, and nearly stumbled when my heel struck something soft. I looked down. A trail of wet footprints led from the cellar door to where I stood. Not coming in. Going out. And they were my footprints. My size. My gait pattern, right foot turned slightly outward from that old basketball injury. But each print was distorted, stretched, as if my feet had been pulled like taffy, elongated and twisted. It hit me then. Whatever was outside wasn't trying to get in. It was trying to get back in. And whatever had come up from the cellar. I turned slowly, a scream building in my throat. Standing in the kitchen doorway was me. Almost me. My face. My clothes. My body. But wrong. The proportions were subtly distorted, limbs too long, neck too flexible, eyes too wide and too dark. It smiled, and there were too many teeth, arranged in neat, perfect rows like a shark. I was cold, it said in my voice. But it's warm inside. You'll see. I fired the rifle. The thing that wore my face didn't bleed when the bullet struck its chest. It rippled, like a stone thrown into still water. The wound closed immediately, the flesh flowing like wax to seal the damage. It lunged. I don't remember much after that. Fragments. Impressions. Cold, wet hands with too many joints. The smell of stagnant water and metal. My own voice whispering things I'd never say, never even think. The cellar door, standing open. Stairs descending into darkness. And beneath it all, a growing certainty that whatever had come out of those woods wasn't just mimicking me. It was becoming me. I woke up here, in Millridge Memorial Hospital. They found me on the forest road 2 miles from my cabin, covered in mud, babbling about doppelgangers and impossible cellars. Exposure and hallucinations, the doctors said. A bad reaction to something in the woods, mushroom spores, maybe, or carbon monoxide from a faulty stove. Sheriff Donovan went up to check on my cabin. Found nothing unusual. No doors where there shouldn't be doors. No strange handprints. No evidence of any struggle or break-in. Just my crossbow, still in the truck. And a perfectly normal buck carcass in the clearing where I'd been hunting, already half-eaten by scavengers. They're releasing me tomorrow. Everyone's been so kind, so concerned. Dr. Preston wants me to talk to a therapist in Burlington. Sheriff Donovan offered to drive me home himself. They think I'll be relieved to hear there was nothing supernatural going on. Just stress and isolation and maybe some tainted water in my well. But Marcus, I know what I saw. And I know why no one found anything strange at my cabin. Because it's not there anymore. Whatever came out of that cellar took my place. It's living in my home. Wearing my face. Speaking with my voice. Becoming me. Better than me. And the worst part? I'm starting to forget things. Important things. Like my mother's birthday. The name of my first dog. The summer we drove to California and slept under the stars. My memories are fading, replaced by others. Older memories. Darker ones. Of cold, wet places beneath the earth. Of hunger that never ends. Of patient centuries spent watching, waiting, learning to mimic. I've started finding changes. This morning, I counted my fingers. I have 6 on my left hand now. I didn't notice until the nurse pointed it out. I've always had 5, right? Right? I don't think I'm me anymore, Marcus. And I don't think you're you. Your eyes. They're different. Deeper. When you turn your head, I can see your neck bend in places a human neck shouldn't bend. How long has it been happening? How many of us have been replaced? The door is open now. Not just in my cabin. Everywhere. And they're coming through. One by one. Taking us. Becoming us. I shouldn't have taken that shot. Have you had a similar experience? Feel free to share in the comments below. This story is purely fictional. Any resemblance to real events is purely coincidental. If you enjoyed this story, please like and leave a comment. Your support means the world to me.